The sound of a crystal tumbler shattering against the wall echoed like a gunshot through the penthouse. Harrison Thorne, a man whose net worth exceeded the GDP of small countries, didn't even blink. He just stared at his son with eyes cold enough to freeze hell over. "You didn't just fail a test, Leo. You failed the bloodline," Harrison whispered, his voice dangerously low. Leo Thorne, 22, and trembling in an Italian suit that cost more than most people's cars, looked at his shoes. He had access to the best tutors, the best schools, and the best technology money could buy, yet he couldn't pass the rigorous board certification exam required to inherit the Thorne empire. He was broken, but what neither of them knew was that the solution wasn't in a textbook or a boardroom. It was waiting in a greasy, 24-hour diner, held in the hands of a waitress who possessed a secret that billions of dollars couldn't buy. The boardroom of Thorne Enterprises was designed to intimidate. It was a cavern of glass and steel, suspended 50 stories above the grey, churning streets of New York City. The table was a single slab of black marble, long enough to seat 30 people. But today, there were only 2. At the head of the table sat Harrison Thorne. He was 60 years old but looked 40, preserved by expensive treatments and an icy demeanor that seemed to repel aging. He was the shark that never slept, the man who had acquired 3 rival tech firms in the last quarter, alone. At the far end, looking like a prisoner awaiting execution, sat Leo Thorne. Leo was Harrison's only son. He had his father's sharp jawline and dark hair, but his eyes were different. They were softer, filled with a perpetual anxiety that Harrison viewed as a genetic defect. "Read it," Harrison commanded. He didn't shout. Harrison never shouted unless it was for theatrical effect. This was personal. Leo reached for the tablet on the marble table. His hand shook slightly, a tremor he tried to hide by gripping the device too hard. He unlocked the screen. The results of the mock board competency assessment, the Iron Gate exam, were glowing in brutal red text. Score, 42%. Status, failed. "I don't understand," Leo stammered, his throat dry. "I studied the projections. I memorized the Q3 logistics. I knew the mergers and acquisitions history backward." And yet, Harrison stood up, walking slowly toward his son, the sound of his handcrafted loafers swallowed by the plush carpet. "You failed the practical application. Again." Harrison stopped right behind Leo's chair. He leaned down, placing a hand on Leo's shoulder. It wasn't a comforting gesture. It felt like the talons of a hawk gauging the weight of its prey. "Do you know what the board calls you behind my back, Leo?" Harrison asked softly. "They call you the Thorne liability. They say you're soft. They say that when I die, the wolves will come, and you won't even know how to load the gun, let alone fire it." "I'm trying, Dad," Leo whispered. "The numbers, they get jumbled in my head. I can't see the patterns you see." Harrison squeezed the shoulder harder, enough to cause pain. "Patterns are the only thing that matters. This company is a machine. If you cannot understand the schematics, you cannot drive the engine." Harrison walked to the window, looking out at the city he felt he owned. "I am done hiring tutors from Harvard and Oxford. I am done paying consultants to hold your hand. You have 1 month, Leo. 30 days until the public shareholder meeting. If you cannot present the solvability strategy for the Asian market expansion flawlessly, without notes, without stuttering, and with the correct financial modeling, I am removing you from the succession line." Leo felt the blood drain from his face. "You can't. This is my legacy." "It's my legacy!" Harrison roared, finally breaking his composure. He spun around, eyes blazing. and I will not let an incompetent boy burn it to the ground because he can't pass a basic competency test. Get out of my sight. Don't come back until you are ready to be a thorn." Leo grabbed his coat and fled. He didn't take the private elevator. He took the stairs, flight after flight, desperate to put physical distance between himself and the suffocating weight of his father's disappointment. He burst out onto the street, gasping for air. It was raining, a cold, miserable November drizzle that soaked through his clothes instantly. He didn't care. He walked aimlessly for blocks, ignoring the buzz of his phone, ignoring the chauffeur who was likely circling the block looking for him. He walked until the upscale boutiques of Fifth Avenue gave way to the grittier, neon-lit storefronts of Hell's Kitchen. He needed noise. He needed to be somewhere where nobody knew who he was. He stopped in front of a flickering sign that read, "The Night Owl Diner." The windows were steamed up, and the smell of frying bacon and old coffee wafted out. It was perfect. It was the kind of place Harrison Thorne wouldn't be caught dead in. Leo pushed the door open and stepped inside, the bell above the door announcing the arrival of the billionaire's son, who had just lost everything. The diner was a relic of the 1980s, all checkerboard floors and vinyl red booths that had seen better decades. It was 11 p.m., and the place was sparsely populated. A trucker was nursing a pie in the corner, and a couple of college students were arguing over a textbook in another booth. Leo slid into a booth in the far back, away from the windows. He stripped off his soaked blazer and threw it on the seat opposite him. He pulled out the tablet, the device that held the evidence of his stupidity, and set it on the table. "Coffee? Black? And—" "I don't know. Whatever is easiest to cook," Leo mumbled without looking up. "One depression special coming up. That's usually grilled cheese and a side of silence." The voice was sharp, clear, and amused. Leo looked up. Standing there was a waitress who looked like she had been on her feet for 12 hours, but refused to let the world see her slouch. Her name tag read, Mia. She had messy brown hair, tied up in a utilitarian bun, a pen stuck behind her ear, and eyes that were an unsettling shade of intelligent grey. She wasn't looking at him with the usual fawning recognition he got in uptown restaurants. She was looking at him like he was a puzzle she had already solved. "Sorry," Leo said, straightening up. "Just coffee, please." "Rough night?" Mia asked, pulling a notepad from her apron. "Suit like that usually means you're celebrating a merger or running from a felony. You look like the running type." "Something like that," Leo muttered. He tapped the screen of his tablet, bringing up the complex stochastic models for the Asian market expansion. It looked like a foreign language, a mess of red lines and algorithmic predictions. Mia poured him a mug of coffee from the pot she was carrying. As she poured, her eyes drifted to the tablet screen. She paused. The stream of coffee remained steady, but her focus sharpened. "Your variance analysis is wrong," she said casually. Leo blinked. "Excuse me?" Mia capped the coffee pot. She pointed a pen at the bottom left corner of his screen. "That graph, the projection for the yen fluctuation against the dollar, you're using a linear progression model. But if you're looking at the Q3 logistics, you mentioned mumbling about when you walked in, you need to account for the typhoon season impact on shipping routes. It's not linear, it's cyclical." Leo stared at her. Then he looked at the tablet, then back at her. "You know what this is?" "It's a risk assessment chart for oceanic supply chains," Mia shrugged, shifting her weight to her other hip. "Standard stuff if you follow global logistics, or if you just pay attention to why the price of imported electronics spikes in October." "Who are you?" Leo asked, genuinely stunned. "Are you a student? Columbia? NYU?" Mia's face closed off. The amusement vanished, replaced by a guarded wall. "I'm a waitress, rich boy. I pour coffee and I serve eggs. Do you want the grilled cheese or not? Yes, please. She turned and walked away, her spine stiff. Leo watched her go, completely baffled. He looked back at his chart. He adjusted the variable she had mentioned, switching the model from linear to cyclical, based on seasonal weather patterns. The red line on the graph turned green. The probability of success jumped from 42% to 78%. Leo sat back, his heart pounding. His father's team of analysts, men paid 6 figures a year, hadn't caught that nuance. They had just plugged in the standard numbers. But this waitress, in a diner that smelled like grease and rain, had spotted it in 3 seconds. When Mia returned 10 minutes later with a plate of grilled cheese, Leo didn't touch the food. He looked at her with a desperation that made her pause. "How did you know that?" he demanded. Mia sighed, putting the plate down. "Look, I'm working a double shift. I don't have time for a tutoring session." "I'll pay you," Leo blurted out. "Whatever you make in a week, I'll pay you for an hour of your time right now. Just sit down." Mia looked around the diner. Her boss, a gruff man named Al, was in the back office. The floor was quiet. She looked at Leo's face, really looked at him. She saw the terror in his eyes. It was a look she recognized. It was the look of someone drowning in expectations. "I don't want your charity money," Mia said quietly. "But if you tell anyone about this, I'll spill this coffee on that silk shirt." She slid into the booth opposite him, pushing his expensive blazer aside. "You're looking at the numbers like they're static enemies," she said, tapping the screen. "They aren't. Numbers are just stories with the words taken out. You're trying to memorize the data. You need to learn the story." "My father says stories are for children," Leo said bitterly. "He says business is war." "Then your father is fighting a losing battle," Mia said. "War is the ultimate story. Cause and effect. Motivation and consequence. Who is your father?" "Harrison Thorne." Mia froze. Her hand, which had been reaching for a sugar packet, stopped in mid-air. A strange shadow passed over her face. Pain, recognition, and a flash of anger. "Thorne," she repeated, testing the word like it tasted of poison. "So, you're the heir apparent." "Currently the heir failing," Leo corrected. "If I don't master this presentation in 30 days, I'm out. And I can't do it. My brain doesn't work that way. I freeze." Mia looked down at her hands. They were rough, with calluses from carrying trays and scrubbing tables. She hesitated, warring with herself. Helping a Thorne? It went against everything she had promised herself. But looking at Leo, she didn't see Harrison. She saw a scared kid. "Okay," Mia said, making a decision that would change the trajectory of both their lives. "I can teach you, but not here, and not for money." "Then what?" Leo asked. "Name it." "There's a community center in the Bronx, the St. Jude's Outreach. They're losing their funding next month. Your company owns the building block it sits on. You stop the eviction, and I teach you how to beat your father's test." Leo didn't hesitate. "Done. I can make a call tomorrow." "Don't call. Fix it," Mia said sternly. "Now close the tablet." "What?" "But we need to study the—" "Close it," Mia ordered. Leo obeyed. The screen went black. "The secret isn't in the screen, Leo. It's in the translation," Mia said, leaning in. "You have a photographic memory, don't you? But only for things you care about." "How did you know?" "Because you remembered the exact order I listed the specials earlier. But you forgot to look at the prices," she noted. "You're a narrative thinker. We're going to turn your Asian market expansion into a chess game. Every number is a piece. Every fluctuation is a move. We're going to retrain your brain to see the board, not the math." The next 3 weeks were a blur of exhaustion and revelation. Leo lived a double life. By day, he sat in his corner office at Thorn Enterprises, nodding vaguely as high-priced consultants droned on about EBITDA and vertical integration. By night, he was in the back of the Night Owl, or sometimes in the small, cramped apartment Mia shared with a cat named Buster. Mia's method was unlike anything Leo had ever encountered. She didn't use flashcards. She used reality. One night, she took him up to the roof of her apartment building. The city skyline glittered around them. "Look at the traffic on the bridge." Mia pointed to the George Washington Bridge in the distance. "Tell me what you see." "Cars, trucks, congestion," Leo said. "Wrong," Mia corrected. "That's inventory flow. The trucks are your supply chain. The cars are consumer demand. See how they bottleneck at the toll booth? That's your tariff regulation. If you raise the toll, the tariff, what happens to the backup?" "It gets longer," Leo said, visualizing it. "And if the backup gets too long, the drivers find a different route. That's market diversion. Your father wants to increase tariffs on the Asian expansion to maximize short-term profit. But if you do that, the market diverts," Leo finished, his eyes widening. "The partners will bypass us and go to our competitors in Singapore." "Exactly," Mia smiled. It was the first time he had seen her genuinely smile, and it transformed her face. You don't need to calculate the percentage of loss. You just need to know that if you block the bridge, the traffic leaves. The math just proves what your gut already knows. For the first time in his life, the fog in Leo's mind began to clear. The terrified boy was being replaced by a strategist, but they weren't as invisible as they thought. On the 25th day of their arrangement, Victor Krell, the vice president of operations and Harrison Thorne's right-hand man, sat in his office. Victor was a man who resembled a vulture, balding, sharp-beaked, and always waiting for something to die so he could feed. He had been waiting for Leo to fail for 5 years. He wanted the CEO chair. His private investigator tossed a manila envelope onto Victor's desk. "You were right," the investigator said. "The kid isn't seeing a tutor. He's seeing a waitress." Victor laughed, a dry, rasping sound. "A waitress? Is he sleeping with her?" "Doesn't look like it. They spend hours talking, looking at charts. But here's the kicker, Mr. Krell. You wanted to know who she is." The investigator pulled out a grainy photo of Mia leaving the diner, then placed an older photo next to it. A photo from a university yearbook from 5 years ago. "Her name isn't Mia Collins. It's Amelia Vance." Victor's smile vanished. He sat up straight, snatching the photo. "Vance? As in the daughter of Gregory Vance, the man Harrison Thorne destroyed in the '98 merger." Victor leaned back, a wicked gleam returning to his eyes. This was better than he could have hoped for. The son of the king was conspiring with the daughter of the king's greatest enemy. It wasn't just incompetence anymore. It was treason. "Does Harrison know?" Victor asked. "Not yet." "Good," Victor whispered. "Let the boy take the stage. Let him get right up to the microphone, and then we pull the rug out." Back at the diner, oblivious to the sword hanging over their heads, Leo was laughing. He had just successfully predicted a stock crash in the commodities market using Mia's grocery store theory, the idea that you can predict inflation by watching how many generic brands people buy versus name brands. "You're ready," Mia said, wiping down the table. "The meeting is in 2 days." "I'm ready because of you," Leo said earnestly. He reached out, covering her hand with his. "Mia, why are you doing this? Really? You're brilliant. You should be running a firm, not serving coffee. Why are you hiding here?" Mia pulled her hand away gently. Her expression darkened. "We all have debts to pay, Leo," Some are financial, some are emotional. My father, he was a genius too, but he trusted the wrong people. He taught me that being smart isn't enough. You have to be unbreakable. Who hurt him? Leo asked. Mia looked at Leo, her eyes searching his face for any sign of his father's cruelty. She saw none, just genuine concern. She almost told him. She almost confessed that his father was the monster in her bedtime stories. But she couldn't. Not now. If he knew who she was, he might lose his focus. It doesn't matter, she said softly. What matters is that you pass that test. You go in there, and you show them that you're not just Harrison's son. You're your own man. I will, Leo promised. And when I get the position, the first thing I'm doing is hiring you, as my chief strategist. Mia offered a sad, cryptic smile. Let's just get through Tuesday, Leo. Tuesday came with the force of a hurricane. The board of directors had gathered. The shareholders were watching via a secure stream. Harrison Thorne sat at the head of the table, his face unreadable. Victor Krell sat to his right, a small, predatory smirk playing on his lips. Leo stood at the podium. He wore a navy suit, crisp and tailored. He had no notes, no tablet, just a small, silver chess pawn in his pocket that Mia had given him for luck. Gentlemen, Leo began, his voice steady for the first time in years. You asked me to prepare a solvency model for the Asian expansion. My father's analysts predict a 15% growth based on aggressive tariff leveraging. They are wrong. A murmur went through the room. Harrison's eyes narrowed. If we follow the current model, Leo continued, visualizing the traffic on the bridge, visualizing the flow of water he and Mia had studied in the park, we will trigger a trade retaliation that will bankrupt the logistics division within 6 months. Instead, I propose the Silk Route strategy. Leo began to speak. He didn't recite numbers. He told a story. He wove the economics into a narrative of supply, demand, cultural respect, and long-term integration. He spoke for 20 minutes without stuttering once. He anticipated every question, countered every doubt, and used the very metaphors Mia had taught him to make complex data seem simple. By the time he finished, the room was silent. Harrison looked stunned. He looked at his son as if seeing a stranger. For a brief second, there was something like respect in his eyes. Impressive, Harrison grunted. Very unorthodox, but effective. Effective? Victor Krell spoke up, his voice cutting through the moment like a knife. He stood up, holding the manila envelope. It is certainly a compelling story, Leo. But I wonder, who wrote it for you? Leo froze. Excuse me. We know you didn't come up with this, Leo, Victor sneered. You've been spending your nights in a diner in Hell's Kitchen, consorting with a woman named Amelia Vance. The name hit Harrison Thorne like a physical blow. He stood up so fast his chair toppled over. Vance? He roared. Victor tossed the photos onto the marble table. They slid across the polished surface, stopping right in front of Harrison. Photos of Leo and Mia laughing. Photos of them studying. Gregory Vance's daughter, Victor declared triumphantly. The girl whose father swore to destroy this company from the grave. She's not tutoring him, Harrison. She's feeding him poisoned data. She's using your son to infiltrate the board. Harrison turned to Leo, his face purple with rage. Is this true? Have you been seeing Vance's daughter? Dad, listen, Leo started, panic rising. Is it true? Harrison screamed. Her name is Mia, and she helped me, Leo shouted back. She didn't poison the data, she fixed it. She's the only reason I understand any of this. She is a spy. Harrison slammed his fist on the table. You are compromised. You are a fool, Leo. You let the enemy into our house because you were too weak to do the work yourself. "Security," Victor barked. "Escort Mr. Thorne out of the building and initiate a full lockdown on the Asian strategy protocols." Two burly guards stepped forward. "Dad, please," Leo begged. "Look at the work. The strategy is sound." "The strategy is fruit of the poisonous tree," Harrison hissed, turning his back on his son. "You are done, Leo. You are disowned. Get out before I have you arrested for corporate espionage." Leo was dragged from the room, kicking and screaming, while Victor Krell smiled. The plan had worked perfectly. Leo was out. The girl would be crushed, and the throne was finally empty. But Victor had made one miscalculation. He assumed Leo was the same weak boy he was a month ago. He didn't realize that Mia hadn't just taught Leo economics. She had taught him how to fight. The sidewalk outside Thorne Tower was cold, hard, and unforgiving. Leo landed on it with a stumble, the heavy glass doors sealing shut behind him with a finality that felt like a coffin closing. He stood there for a moment, the rain plastering his hair to his forehead, watching the blurry shapes of the security guards returning to their posts. They were men he had greeted by name every morning for 3 years. Now, they wouldn't even look him in the eye. He reached into his pocket for his phone to call a car, but the screen was dead. Remote wipe. Harrison hadn't just fired him, he had erased him. He tried his credit cards at a nearby ATM. Declined. Seized by issuer. He had $10 in cash in his pocket and the clothes on his back. That was it. The Prince of New York was a pauper in under 10 minutes. He didn't go to his penthouse. The biometric locks would have been changed already. He didn't go to his friends. They were fair-weather friends who worshipped the Thorne name, not the man. There was only one place left. He walked the 40 blocks to Hell's Kitchen. His Italian loafers blistered his feet. His suit, worth $5,000, was ruined by the grime of the city. By the time he pushed open the door to the Night Owl, he looked less like a billionaire and more like a ghost. The bell chimed. It was the dinner rush, noisy and chaotic. Mia was behind the counter, balancing 3 plates on one arm. She looked up, smiling when she saw the door open, but the smile died instantly when she saw Leo's face. She dropped the plates. The crash silenced the diner. Maya vaulted over the counter, ignoring the shouts of her boss, Al. She grabbed Leo just as his knees gave out. "Get him to the back booth," Mia shouted to the busboy. 10 minutes later, Leo was sitting with a hot towel around his neck and a mug of tea in his shaking hands. The diner had quieted down again. Moore sat across from him, her face pale. "They know," Leo whispered, his voice raspy. "Victor Krell found out who you are. He told my father." Mia closed her eyes, letting out a long, shuddering breath. "I knew it was a matter of time. I hoped we had longer." "Amelia Vance," Leo said the name slowly, testing the weight of it. "Why didn't you tell me? My father destroyed yours. You had every reason to hate me. Why help me?" Mia looked out the window at the rain-slicked street. "I wanted to hate you. God, Leo, when you first walked in here 3 weeks ago, I wanted to spill boiling coffee in your lap. My father. Gregory Vance was a good man. He built Vance Industries from a garage in Queens. Your father didn't just buy him out. He orchestrated a smear campaign. He planted false evidence of embezzlement. He drove my father's stock to zero, bought it for pennies, and then liquidated the assets. My dad couldn't take the shame. He drove his car off the Tappan Zee Bridge 3 months later." Leo felt a nausea that had nothing to do with the cold. "I didn't know." "Of course you didn't. Harrison Thorne writes history. He doesn't read it," Mia said bitterly. "So, I planned to watch you fail. I saw you struggling with those charts, and I thought, good, let the Thorne dynasty rot." But then, she looked at him, her grey eyes softening. Then I saw you panic. I saw a terrified kid trying to please a monster. And I realized you were a victim of Harrison Thorne, too. Just like me. Just like my dad. Helping you pass that test wasn't about saving your company, Leo. It was about proving that a Thorne could be human, that you could be better than him. Well, it didn't work. Leo laughed, a harsh, brittle sound. I'm disowned. Penniless. Victor Krell won. He convinced my father that you were feeding me bad data to sabotage the company. Mia's head snapped up. What? He said you were poisoning the strategy. But the strategy was sound, Mia insisted, slamming her hand on the table. The Silk Route strategy is perfect. It accounts for every variable. It doesn't matter. Krell spun the narrative. Dad bought it. Krell is going to be named CEO. Mia sat back, her mind racing. She began to chew on her thumbnail, a habit Leo had noticed when she was deep in thought. Victor Krell, she muttered. He's the one who authorized the forensic audit on my father 10 years ago. He's been Harrison's hatchet man for decades. She looked at Leo. You say Krell is taking over? Yes. The formal announcement is at the Winter Solstice Gala in 2 days. And the Asian expansion? Dad put a lockdown on it. Krell will likely revert to the old plan. High tariffs, aggressive posturing. Mia's eyes narrowed. The sharpness returned, that brilliant, terrifying intellect that made her the smartest person in any room. Why? She asked. Why what? Why would Krell revert to a plan that is guaranteed to fail? Mia asked. I showed you the math, Leo. If they use the old plan, the company loses 30% of its market share in Asia within a year. Krell isn't stupid. He's evil, but he's not stupid. Why would a new CEO want to tank the stock price in his first year? Leo blinked. He tried to think, using the narrative method Mia had taught him. He visualized the board. He visualized Victor Krell. Unless... Leo started, the pieces clicking into place. Unless he's not betting on the company's success. Short selling, Mia whispered. If Krell has leveraged his position to bet against Thorne Enterprises, Leo continued, his voice rising with excitement, then crashing the Asian deal makes him a billionaire independently. He destroys my father's legacy, cashes out, and walks away. He's gutting the fish, Mia said. He's going to strip the company for parts, just like your father did to mine. Leo stood up. A fire had ignited in his chest. The fear was gone, burned away by anger. We have to stop him. Leo, you have $10, Mia pointed out gently. I have a cat and a rent payment I'm late on. We can't fight them. We don't need money, Leo said, looking at her with a newfound intensity. You taught me that money is just a story people agree to believe. We don't need to buy the company, Mia. We just need to change the story. He reached out and grabbed her apron. Take this off. We have work to do. Where are we going? To the one place Victor Krell won't look, the library. The New York Public Library on 42nd Street was a sanctuary of silence. Under the high vaulted ceilings, Leo and Mia set up a command center on a scratched wooden table in the back corner. They didn't have high-speed Bloomberg terminals. They had public Wi-Fi and Mia's battered laptop, but they had something Krell didn't. They knew where to look. If Krell is shorting the stock, he can't do it under his own name, Leo said, scrolling through the SEC filings on the public database. He'd use shell companies, offshore accounts. Look for the patterns, Mia instructed, leaning over his shoulder. She smelled like vanilla and rain. Don't look for the name, Krell. Look for the behavior. Look for large put options bought on Thorne Enterprises stock in the last 3 months. They searched for hours. The sun went down, and the library lights hummed overhead. Leo's eyes burned. "Here," Mia pointed at the screen. "Look at this. A company called Vulture Holdings, LLC, registered in the Cayman Islands. They purchased $10 million in put options against Thorn stock 3 days before your board exam." He knew, Leo realized. He knew I would fail, or he planned to make sure I failed, so the stock would wobble. He was betting on my incompetence. "But that's not enough to kill the company," Mia said. "Keep digging. Look at the logistics contracts." Leo navigated to the vendor list for the Asian expansion. He cross-referenced the shipping companies Krell had shortlisted. "Wait a minute." Leo frowned. "Oceanic Star Shipping. They're the primary vendor Krell selected for the transport routes. Their rates are 40% higher than the market average." "Who owns Oceanic Star?" Mia asked. Leo clicked through the corporate registry. It was a maze of holding companies, nesting dolls of ownership designed to hide the truth. But Leo used the spider web technique Mia had taught him. Follow the money, not the titles. "Oceanic Star is owned by Blue Horizon Trust," Leo read, "and Blue Horizon Trust is managed by a law firm in Zurich." "Dead end?" "No," Leo grinned. It was a predatory grin, one he must have inherited from Harrison. "I know that law firm. My father used them for his estate planning in the 90s, but Krell handles the retainer." "So Krell is hiring his own shell company to handle the shipping," Mia concluded. "He's overcharging Thorn Enterprises by 40%, funneling the extra cash into his own pocket, and when the high costs cause the Asian deal to collapse, his short positions pay out. He wins both ways." "It's the perfect crime," Leo said, sitting back. "He's stealing from the treasury and betting on the fire he's about to start." "We have the narrative," Mia said, "but we don't have the proof. These are just digital footprints. We need the smoking gun. We need the actual ledger that links Krell to Vulture Holdings." "I know where it is," Leo said. "Krell is old school. He doesn't trust the cloud. He keeps a physical black book. I've seen it. He keeps it in a safe in his office." "His office?" Mia raised an eyebrow. "The office in the building you are currently banned from entering? The building with armed security and biometric scanners?" "Yes," Leo said. "But I know a weakness in the security system." "What weakness?" "The human one," Leo said. "The night cleaning crew. They come in at 3:00 a.m. They use the service elevator. And the foreman? His name is Mr. Henderson. He's been there for 20 years. My father ignores him. Krell treats him like dirt." "But Leo's voice softened. "I used to sit with him and eat sandwiches when I was a kid, and Dad was ignoring me. Mr. Henderson likes me." Mia looked at Leo with admiration. "The billionaire who eats with the janitor. Maybe there's hope for you yet." "We go in tonight," Leo said. "The gala is tomorrow. If we don't get that book before the announcement, it's over." The service entrance of Thorn Tower smelled of ammonia and trash. It was 2:55 a.m. The rain had turned into a freezing mist. Leo knocked on the heavy steel door. 3 short raps, 2 long ones. A secret code from a childhood he had tried to forget. The door creaked open. Mr. Henderson stood there, holding a mop bucket. He was an older African-American man with kind eyes and a back bent from decades of labor. He looked at Leo, then at Mia. "Mr. Leo," Henderson whispered. "I heard on the news. They say you're out." "I am, Mr. Henderson," Leo said. "But if I don't get upstairs tonight, the man who takes over is going to destroy this whole building. He's going to fire everyone, starting with the night crew." Henderson hesitated. He looked at the camera above the door. "They're watching, Mr. Leo." "The loop," Leo said. "Does the service elevator camera still loop every 10 minutes for a reboot?" Henderson smiled, a toothy grin. "You remember that?" "I remember everything you taught me." Henderson stepped back. You got 10 minutes before the reboot finishes. Go. Leo and Mia slipped inside. They sprinted to the service elevator. Leo punched the button for the 50th floor. The ascent felt like it took a lifetime. If we get caught, Mia whispered, we go to jail. If we don't, Leo said, taking her hand, we lose our souls. The doors opened on the executive floor. It was dark, the only light coming from the city glow through the floor-to-ceiling windows. They crept down the hallway, past Harrison's massive office, to the sleek, glass-walled office of Victor Krell. The door was locked. Stand back, Mia said. She pulled a hairpin from her bun. You know how to pick a lock? Leo whispered. I worked at a dive bar where the owner lost his keys every Friday, Mia muttered, fiddling with the mechanism. Waitress skills are transferable, Leo. Click. They slipped inside. Krell's office was pristine, cold, and devoid of personality. Leo went straight to the painting on the wall, a modernist piece of red and black chaos. He swung it aside. The safe was there. Digital keypad. Damn, Leo hissed. It's a 6-digit rolling code. I don't know it. Mia stepped up. Look at the keypad. Look at the wear patterns. Leo squinted. The numbers 8, 4, 2, and 1 were slightly more worn than the others. Krell is a creature of ego, Mia whispered. Think, Leo. What is the one number Krell cares about? Leo thought. He thought about Krell's speeches, his obsessions. The stock price. No, that changes. His birthday? Too obvious. When did he join the company? Mia asked. August 4th, 1982. Leo recited instantly. 8482. Wait, no, 21. He always talks about being the 21st employee, the one who built the foundation. Try 080421, Mia suggested. Leo punched it in. The light blinked red. One more try before it locks us out and alerts security, Leo said, sweat beading on his forehead. Think narrative, Leo. What is Krell's story? He hates your father, Mia said. He wants to be your father. What is Harrison's birthday? December 12th. Try the date Krell almost became CEO, the first time, the merger in 98. October 30th, Leo said. 10:30 to 98. He punched it in. Click. Whirr. The heavy door swung open. Inside, amidst stacks of cash and passports, sat a small black ledger. Leo grabbed it. He flipped it open. It was all there. The account numbers, the wire transfers to Vulture Holdings, the payments to the Swiss law firm, the notes on sabotaging the Asian deal. We got it, Leo breathed. Suddenly the lights in the office blazed on. I have to admit, a smooth voice came from the doorway. I didn't think you had the spine. Leo and Mia spun around. Victor Krell stood there, flanked by 3 armed security guards. He wasn't wearing his suit. He was in a tuxedo, presumably fresh from a pre-gala dinner. He held a glass of scotch in one hand and a taser in the other. Mr. Henderson is currently being debriefed downstairs. Krell smiled, sipping his drink. And you two are trespassing. We have the book, Victor, Leo said, holding it up. We know everything. You have a notebook, Krell corrected. And in about 5 minutes, you'll have a resisting arrest charge. Do you really think anyone will believe the desperate, disowned son and his waitress girlfriend over the new CEO of Thorn Enterprises? Krell nodded to the guards. Take the book, break their phones, and then call the police. The guard stepped forward. Mia backed up against the desk, her hand brushing against Krell's computer mouse. The screen woke up. Wait, Mia shouted. If you arrest us, the upload finishes. Krell paused. What upload? The one I started 10 minutes ago, Mia lied. She pointed to the computer screen behind her. It was just a screensaver, but her voice was steady. I linked my phone to your local server. I'm live streaming this audio to a private cloud. If you touch us, my contact releases the recording of you admitting to the fraud. It was a bluff. A waitress bluff. The "I've called the cops" line used on drunk patrons. Krell hesitated. For a split second, the numbers man calculated the risk. That second was all Leo needed. He didn't fight. He threw the heavy ledger, not at the guards, but through the plate glass window behind Krell's desk. Smash! The glass shattered, raining down onto the atrium 50 floors below, but the book didn't fall. It landed on the balcony ledge just outside. "Get the book!" Krell screamed at the guards. As the guards rushed to the window, Leo grabbed a heavy marble bust from the desk and hurled it at the fire alarm pull station on the wall. Clang! The strobes went off. The ear-splitting wail of the siren filled the building. The automatic fire doors began to descend. "Run!" Leo yelled, grabbing Mia's hand. They didn't go for the elevator. They bolted into the stairwell just as the magnetic locks engaged. They could hear Krell screaming behind them, but the chaos of the alarm masked their escape. They ran down 50 flights of stairs. By the time they hit the street, lungs burning, they had lost the book. "We lost it," Mia gasped, collapsing in an alleyway 3 blocks over. "We lost the proof. It's over." Leo leaned against the brick wall, gasping for air. He reached into his jacket pocket. "We lost the book," Leo smiled, pulling out his phone. "But while you were bluffing about the upload, I was taking pictures." He turned the screen around. He had snapped high-resolution photos of the 3 most damning pages while Mia was distracting Krell. "I learned that from you," Leo said. "Misdirection. The magician's secret." Mia laughed, a sound of pure relief. "You're a quick learner, Thorn. Now let's go crash a party." The Winter Solstice Gala was the event of the season. The grand ballroom of the Plaza Hotel was dripping with crystals and gold. Every major investor, politician, and rival CEO was there. Harrison Thorn stood on the stage, looking older and more tired than anyone had ever seen him. He adjusted the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen," Harrison said, his voice echoing through the hall. "Transitions are never easy, but the future demands strength. It demands a steady hand. It is my honor to introduce the new CEO of Thorn Enterprises, a man who has stood by my side for 30 years, Victor Krell." Applause rippled through the room. Victor Krell stepped onto the stage, beaming. He raised his hands in false modesty. "Thank you, Harrison," Krell said. "I accept this charge with humility. My first act as CEO will be to restructure our Asian operations to ensure stability." Screech! The audio system whined with feedback. The massive projection screen behind Krell, which displayed the company logo, flickered. Suddenly, the logo disappeared. It was replaced by a photo of a handwritten ledger page. The room went silent. The text on the screen was massive. Vulture Holdings. Short position. $50 million. Krell froze. He looked back at the screen, his face draining of color. "What is this?" Harrison demanded, stepping back. "Technical difficulties," Krell shouted. "Cut the feed. Cut it now." "Don't cut it," a voice rang out from the back of the ballroom. The heavy double doors swung open. Leo Thorn walked in. He wasn't wearing a tuxedo. He was wearing jeans and a leather jacket, looking every bit the rebel. Beside him walked Mia, wearing a simple black dress she had bought from a thrift store an hour ago. She looked like a queen. "That ledger page," Leo shouted, walking down the center aisle as the crowd parted, "is from Victor Krell's private safe. It proves he has been betting against this company for 6 months. "Security!" Krell screamed into the mic. "Arrest him! He's a thief!" "I am a shareholder," Leo countered, holding up a single piece of paper. "I may be disowned, but my grandfather left me 1 single share of stock in a trust you couldn't touch. And as a shareholder, I demand the floor." Leo jumped onto the stage. He didn't look at Krell. He looked at his father. "Dad," Leo said, his voice calm, amplified by the stunned silence of the room. "You told me to learn the story of the numbers. Well, here it is. Victor created a narrative that I was incompetent, so he could lower the stock price. He created a narrative that Mia was a spy, so he could isolate you. He is using your money to pay himself to destroy your legacy." Leo clicked a remote he held in his hand. The screen changed. It showed the wire transfer to the Swiss bank account. Then it showed the email chain with the shipping company to inflate prices. The crowd gasped. Investors began pulling out their phones. The stock ticker in the corner of the room started to flash. Harrison Thorne looked at the screen. He looked at the numbers. He was a ruthless man, but he was a brilliant mathematician. He saw the pattern instantly. He turned slowly to Victor Krell. "You shorted my company?" Harrison asked. His voice was barely a whisper, but it was terrifying. "Harrison, it's a fabrication!" Krell stammered, backing away. "The boy is lying. He's working with the Vance girl." "Yes, I am." Leo stepped forward, pulling Mia up onto the stage. "I am working with Amelia Vance, the daughter of the man you destroyed. And she is the one who found this. She saved your company, Dad. The company you used to crush her family." Harrison looked at Mia. For the first time, he saw the resemblance to Gregory Vance. He saw the fire. "Is this true?" Harrison asked her. "Every word," Mia said, holding his gaze without flinching. "The numbers don't lie, Mr. Thorne. Only people do." Harrison closed his eyes. The realization hit him like a physical blow. He had trusted a snake and banished his son. He opened his eyes and looked at his security chief, who was standing by the stage. "Escort Mr. Krell off the premises," Harrison commanded. "And call the district attorney. I want to file charges for corporate embezzlement." "You can't do this!" Krell shrieked as the guards grabbed him. "I am the CEO. I am the company." As Krell was dragged away, screaming, the ballroom erupted into chaos. Reporters were shouting questions. Flashbulbs were popping. Harrison turned to Leo. He looked old, defeated. "Leo," Harrison said, extending a hand. "I miscalculated. I see that now. The position is yours. You've earned it. You passed the test." Leo looked at his father's hand, the hand that had controlled him his whole life. Then he looked at Mia. "No," Leo said. Harrison froze. "What?" "I don't want the job," Leo said firmly. "I don't want to be the king of a kingdom built on fear. I passed the test, Dad, but I'm failing your class." Leo took Mia's hand. "We're going to start our own story. One where we don't have to destroy people to succeed." "Leo, you can't walk away," Harrison pleaded, looking around at the crumbling empire. "Who will run Thorne Enterprises?" "You will," Leo said, "until you learn that people aren't just variables in a spreadsheet. Goodbye, Dad." Leo and Mia turned and walked off the stage, down the aisle and out of the ballroom, leaving the billionaire alone in the spotlight, surrounded by wealth but completely bankrupt of what mattered. 6 months later. A small office in Brooklyn. The sign on the door read, "Vance and Thorne. Strategic Consulting." It wasn't a skyscraper. It was a renovated warehouse with brick walls and big windows. Inside, it was buzzing with activity. Small business owners, tech startups, and local non-profits were sitting at tables, working with analysts. Leo sat at a desk, reviewing a logistics plan for a local bakery chain. He looked happy. He was wearing a t-shirt. Mia walked over and placed a mug of coffee on his desk. "You overtipped the delivery guy again," she noted, smiling. "He has 3 kids and a flat tire on his bike." Leo shrugged, just adjusting for economic variables. "Your father called again?" Mia said, sitting on the edge of his desk. "Did he?" "He says the stock is up 10% since he implemented the Silk Route strategy. He wants to have lunch. He says he wants to apologize to me." Leo looked up. What do you think? Mia looked at the framed photo of her father on her desk. She thought about revenge. She thought about anger. And then she thought about the one secret she had taught Leo. That life isn't a zero-sum game. Maybe, Mia said. Let's make him wait a little longer. Let him sweat the variables. Leo laughed and pulled her in for a kiss. They didn't have billions, but they had the truth. They had each other. And for the first time in the history of the Thorne and Vance families, the ledger was perfectly balanced. Sometimes the greatest test isn't the one on the paper, it's the one in the mirror. Leo Thorne had to lose his fortune to find his worth, and in doing so, he exposed the rot at the top of the empire. It proves that no amount of money can outsmart the truth, and no degree can replace the street-smart wisdom of someone who has actually lived life. If you enjoyed this story of redemption, revenge, and the secrets of the ultra-rich, please hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. Don't forget to share this video with someone who needs a reminder that the underdog can win, and subscribe for more dramatic stories about the hidden worlds of power and betrayal. What would you have done in Leo's shoes? Let me know in the comments below.